to get into game number 3. Will be Team Summon taking on Denial Esports. I gotta say, I don't know. I'm looking at these two teams, and even though Denial has been very dominant, even in MCS, EPS, and even the Rocket King of the Hill winning that out today, Team Summon have a really stacked lineup, looking to bring things back.
Yeah, they are. And Team Summon, they've been looking a little bit stronger recently, but however, Denial is coming off of their win against To Be Determined, which is something that should probably give them quite a bit of confidence going into this next matchup. Taking out To Be Determined is nothing to be taken lightly.
Yeah, taking them out, this was their only defeat so far. Complexity only with one defeat as well. To Be Determined, actually been the ones to kind of beat Denial pretty consistently over the course of their scrims. But going in here, Team Summon having a little bit of a roster issue during the middle of the season. And I think that really kind of hurt their chances. They're down in 10th place at 3-6 so far, whereas Denial up in 3rd at 7-2. So it's going to be an uphill battle for them tonight, but with some all-star talent, Slacko, Cybolic, and Sicko Scott, all with professional League of Legends experience. And keep in mind, Team Summon, the team that took a game off of Dignitas in the Summer Promotion Series. So definitely nobody to sleep on. So it looks like both teams are ready. We're about to get into our 3rd game of the night. Team Summon taking on Denial.
And after this game, you can also see Complexity versus Gold Gaming LA. That's going to be a very exciting game as well. Complexity, as you said, 8-1, as well as To Be Determined, also 8-1. So that's going to be a fairly exciting game afterwards as well. But let's see if we can get into the Team Summon and Denial match. There we go. We can go ahead and take a look at some of the early picks and bans. I'm spectating off of the stream right now, so you're going to have to take over just for the first couple seconds.
All right, so we're going to get into at least the banning phase. Nidalee right off the bat. No surprises there. And a Vladimir banned out against the Cybolic, so just kind of taking pot shots at each other. Not going to see Cybolic's Vladimir or Inox's Nidalee. We probably will see maybe I'd like to see maybe a Zyra ban, but definitely a Lee Sin ban is in order from Team Summon.
Oh yeah, I could definitely see that coming as well. And really, a lot of the stronger members of Denial are people who play some of these high-priority champions. Nidalee is a very strong champion for Inox, and Inox is basically known for that, right up there with Arthlon. They both play some really amazing Nidalees. Really not surprised to see that banned out against them. Thresh. Glebe Glarbu plays a really good Thresh, and even we've seen recently Glebe Glarbu also plays some nasty Fiddlesticks, although I don't really think Fiddlesticks constitutes a ban, but at the same time it is a fairly strong champion for him. So Denial is one team that it's pretty hard to actually ban out in terms of their champion pools.
Yeah, it's the thing for Denial is, even though they have like that perfect team composition that they WTF would love to run every single game, they also have a lot of versatility, and it's the depth of their champion pool that has really been something that's kind of given them that sort of air of mystery, because it's like, well, you ban out all your good champions, what's left? And it's still good team compositions that they could run. First pick of the game will go over to Team Summon after we see the last ban, Vladimir Elise coming out. Wouldn't be surprised to see maybe like a Zac ban coming out. Not too sure what to expect just yet. Last ban will be Skip. No, it's a Fizz? I'm not sure. I mean, I know that Cybolic's good with Fizz, and you gotta look towards, I don't know, maybe that buffs or support Fizz. Not thinking we're gonna be seeing that. Reap 22, though, he's gonna be the real person to watch out for. Known as a Diana main, but his Fizz in the mid lane is also, something to watch out for. He's got over 100 games of that so far this season, so really not something that you want to discount. So target bans across the board for both teams. Kind of interesting to see that. First pick will be Zyra, grabbing that away for Team Summon from Nubby Pooh Bear.
And Glebe Glarbu does play some Zyra as well, so not only taking it away from them, but Zyra is also a very high priority pick. She's become a lot more of a high priority pick than she was before, simply because of the amount of laning power she has. Now, it's always known that she is one of the squishier supports of the game, where if you get caught out as Zyra, then you're not really too long for this world. You're going to get bursted down fairly quickly. But if you can position well, you've got some long-range abilities. You can use grasping roots from a very long range away, and if you can land those, that's a snare, which is one of the better CCs to have in a bot lane, where it's basically hard CC. The opponent can't move out of a snare, so that's something that helps a bunch of different AD carries, and we might see, I don't know, we might see a Vayne, we might see Varus, we might also see another Zyra Twitch. That's also very possible, but a lot of people who benefit more from landing more auto attacks, and I say that sort of in an odd way because obviously every AD carry wants to land as many auto attacks as possible, but people who benefit more from landing those auto attacks, like Vayne's Silver Bolts, or you have Twitch's Poison Procs, or Varus's Blighted Quiver. Those are things that Zyra really helps out with her snare.
Well, I think the big thing to watch out for is not only the Zyra being taken away, but with the Zac pick, we could see sort of a ballista ball delivery system. In Reap, he's known for playing just assassin roam mid laners, but he has a lot up his sleeve. And keep in mind, when you're going into this, Scuba Chris is most likely going to grab that Lee Sin. I mean, we talked about that earlier on, but we've seen Nox actually play a Jarvan in the fourth before, or even a Lee Sin up at the top lane and switch that Jarvan over to Scuba Chris. So interesting to see the first pick onto Fiddlesticks, probably going to be going on to young Glebe Glarbu down there at the bottom, but with the Vayne locked in for Reap, definitely want to get the carry on a little bit early here for Team Summon.
And like I said before, Vayne synergizes really well with Zyra, and on top of that, it does make sense to pick Vayne this early on in the sort of the picks phase, because she is still a very high priority champion, and especially when you see a champion like Jarvan on the enemy team, you say, alright, they could really possibly be looking for a Vayne pick, because Jarvan works well with Vayne on top of that, because anyone who can basically CC a lot of people is someone that's going to help Vayne out in the long run. So it's good that they take that away. However, at the same time, Flappy Bearfish is picking up his Twitch. Now, Flappy plays a really, really good Twitch, and as we've already mentioned earlier today, Twitch has some power that people most likely don't expect. You know, a lot of people underestimate the amount of power Twitch has in his kit. They underestimate his damage. So it's interesting to see that with a Fiddlestick support. The fear is going to help him get more poison out, but they're also going to be looking to poke quite a bit. Now, Fiddlesticks is sort of like Zyra in the sense that if you get caught out, then there's really not much you can do. He can throw out a fear, but after that, there's nothing he can do to escape. He can try to drain, but that doesn't really tank enough for him if there's multiple people targeting him down. So that's going to be an interesting bot lane.
The bottom lane, interesting, yes, but the way that they want to round this lineup out for Denial, I'm really interested to see how they want to play this top lane, because they've saved that pick for Inox for last. They want to know what he's going up against, and right now it's looking at any one of those three, the combination Zac, Kennen, and Zed. So I really think that probably the biggest thing to watch out for is the way that these lanes and the picks, the champions, rotate around, because that could really change the way that Denial want to play this lane. Even still, it's up to Inox. What does he want to play? He's very versatile as a top laner. No Nidalee left available, but still has the opportunity to go for, I would have thought about a Vladimir, but with a Jace, oh my goodness, absolutely perfect pick, because you're not going to see Kassadin up there. It's going to be a Jace top lane, and you can really put Jace against any one of those three champions.
Yeah, you really could. Jace, he's a very safe champion. He can farm at a range, and if Zac, say, went top and he wanted to try to kill Jace, then Jace has a really great disengage. Just knock him away, and that's all. That's it for that engagement up there. And on top of that, he can farm from a distance with his ranged form, and he also has a lot of poke with Shock Blast. So he's a very safe laner, and in most cases, he's also a lane bully. Against a champion like Kennen, he might not be doing as much bullying. They're just going to try to, harass each other as much as possible. It's going to be more of an even matchup if they send Kennen top. But I think that's generally what they're going to do. Kennen top, we're going to see Zac in the jungle and Zed mid, because that really puts everyone in sort of their best matchups. Now, we are going to have to watch out for the... Oh, he's going to switch it to Lee Sin at the last second. That is different, and I have to say I didn't quite expect that. So Lee Sin, I don't know too much about Inox's Lee Sin. I don't know if you have any experiences with it.
Inox, he actually played Lee Sin versus I believe it was versus a Renekton in their match versus versus Reality Check Gaming earlier on, and he builds full damage Lee Sin. He builds Ravenous Hydra into Last Whisper, and then piles on damage after that. So it's going to be really impressive to see if he can get the job done versus what it looks like is going to be a Kennen top lane. Going to get that ranged harass on, something that Lee Sin has a little bit of a hard time dealing with. We'll see if it's going to be effective this game. We are about to load into our 3-minute spectator delays, so I got to ask you, Azraki, looking at both of these team compositions, I mean, it's a little bit rough, to sort of call things early on, but are there any synergies, anything you're looking at from both of these teams?
Well, so far for Team Summon, I'm seeing a really heavy AoE comp. We obviously have Cannon, his Slicing Maelstrom. Yeah, Slicing Maelstrom on Cannon. Very, very strong AoE denial, or in AoE just complete stun. If you land that long enough, then it'll stun whoever stands in it. We also have Buffzerg playing Zyra. Stranglethorns, as we've seen multiple times today, I think she's actually been picked in every game, if I'm not mistaken, but she can do a very large area of denial. She can counter initiate, she can follow up initiate, and on top of that, we also have Zac who can initiate from long range. He's got a lot of CC. It's all AoE CC on top of that. And then to round out the comp, we have Vayne and Zed. So Zed's going to be able to target whoever he wants and burst them down really quickly. Meanwhile, Vayne is just going to rain death on the enemy team by putting out a lot of damage. So they have a strong team comp, whereas it looks like Denial, they're looking more towards the single target damage sort of comp. So it's going to be interesting.
All right, so it is going to be interesting to see, and we will actually get a chance to see that in just a minute. But first, we're going to run to a quick commercial break and want to give a little bit of a shout out to our sponsors. It's iBuyPower, Razer Academy, and Fatality Gaming Gear. And if you want to help support us too, you can head over to mcsesports.com/tips. Leave us a little bit of a tip at the same time. So I want to make sure that you guys also realize after the games today, that's one more series or one more game after this one, we will be doing subscriber games with casters, managers, a lot of fun left to be had even after the games are done. So make sure to hit the subscribe button if you're interested, and do want to make sure to look forward to those after the games conclude. So like I said, we're going to be in a quick commercial break. When we come back, it'll be our third game of the night, Team Summon taking on Denial Esports. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Mobile Fire Challenger Series. I am Rapid, with me is Azaraki. We're going into our third game of the night. It's going to be Team Summon, your team in the blue, bottom left-hand corner of the screen, going up against Denial Esports in the red. Now, Denial, they've already been smashing through their games, 2-0ing RXG for a $1,000 win in the Roccat King of the Hill just today. Coming in here versus Team Summon, they have a pretty comfortable lineup. Flabby Bearfish back on that Twitch and Cleve Blarbu on support. Fiddlesticks is a very comfortable bottom lane, and there's no Thresh synergy with the the Lantern pulling out Cassidy when he goes in. We saw that a little bit earlier on. It was really cool to watch, but Navi Pooh Bear, see how his Cassidy works out. Traditionally plays control mages in the mid lane. Now going for just that Cassidy, a little bit of a different take on that role. Scuba Chris in the jungle on Lee Sin, though, a nice way to round things out. Why don't you run us through the lineup for Team Summon?
So Team Summon, we have Cybolic looking to round out the top lane with Cannon, Buff Zerg supporting Zyra for Slacko in the bottom lane on Vayne right there, and it looks like they are going for an invade. Sicko Scott playing Zac is going to have a pretty good early level power because of Elastic Slingshot that can lock down whoever he wants at a long distance, so they're going to be pretty strong on some of these level 1s. And rounding out the lineup, we also have Reap22 playing the Zed mid, so very strong AD assassin right there, and we know that he really likes his Zed. He can certainly reap some souls with that.
Very well played, Azaraki. I thought we were leaving that job up to me, but yeah,
I had to get one.
All right. So there you go. Your limit has been reached. 2 out of 10 would not pun, but we got Reap on that assassin middle lane. Loves playing those assassins. Traditionally a Diana player, known for his fizz as well, but on to Zed, pretty much the same kind of idea. Sicko Scott, Buff Zerg, and Slacko, they're all standing on top of wards, so going for the least sneaky red buff right there. I gotta say, we're not very incognito, but still gonna be a very uneventful jungle for both junglers. Starting in the bottom half of the map, going up top lane, you can see a 2v1 initiated. We have the Buff Zerg Slacko combo, the Vayne Zyra down there. The 1v2ing versus Scuba Chris's blue buff and blue buffed Lee Sin. It's actually going to be a Nox, though, taking down the Wolf Camp. Gonna look for a little bit of extra XP because he knows he really can't do anything in that 2v1 early on.
This is actually the first 2v1 we've seen so far today, and this looks like it's going to be a pretty eventful one. And at the same time, Team Summon, they have Vayne Zyra bot lane, so as you said, Inox, he's taking some of the jungle camps, so he's really looking for any advantages he can get down in the bot lane. He's even going back really early into the game, so that's something, it's going to benefit him, that first back, giving him a little bit more sustain as well as a couple wards, so he's going to be pretty happy with that. But meanwhile, in the top lane, Cybolic isn't going to have that hard of a time 2v1ing. He is Cannon, very long range, as well as having some stuns on his kit really help a 2v1 laner, so we're going to see some happen there. But I want to go to the mid lane matchup for a second, Khazadin versus Zed, and this is going to be the battle of level 6s. Pre-level 6, we're going to see a little bit of poke, maybe if jungler pressure comes in, there's going to be action, but for the most part, once these guys hit level 6, it's going to be up to Navi Pooh Bear to try to dodge the harass of Reap and put out his own, but if Navi Pooh Bear can't dodge well enough and gets below about half health, then Reap is going to come in with his Deathmark ultimate, and that's going to be pretty much the end for Navi Pooh Bear, so he's going to have to watch out for that as well. Sicko Scott in the top lane.
Yeah, going in, the damage gonna go down. Cybolic, that's the great thing about Twitch. You can harass that true damage over time going on, and it's really hard to avoid. You can just throw out those Venom casts whenever you want. Interesting to see Sicko Scott come up there for pressure because, keep in mind, his blue buff not there. And that's probably going to be the most interesting thing. He was looking for it, but not actually going to fight it at least that easily. Trying to clear things out, but still having a little bit of a rough time sitting around level 3. Can't quite get the pressure that he needs. Top lane still trying to catch out on Cybolic. The Venom Cask on top of a nice spear from Glebe Glarbu. Doesn't get a lot more freer than that. Harass down top lane. But bottom lane, you can see pretty much the same picture over for Denial. Scuba Chris helping out enough.
Yeah, it's really there. You have two choices.
Going in, bottom lane, Slacko force the flash in, red buff down. Barrier actually makes it one more auto attack, but it's Scuba Chris to get the kill. Red buff and the slow from Cripple coming out, force the flash from Buff Zerg. No further initiate. They want to go for a double dive, buddies. The snare lands, goes on to a Nox, shields there from Safeguard. Gets out alive, a perfect dive, 2 for 0 in that lane, all ready for Denial.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, it strikes me a little bit odd to see Sicko Scott in the top lane helping out Cybolic, where his bot lane would really need it a little bit more in terms of Okay, we have Lee Sin and Jarvan. They are very tanky champions. They have no problem initiating some of those fights on an early game Vayne. And on top of that, they have a little bit more dive potential if Sicko Scott were to go into the bot lane, but landing a nice resonating strike. Scuba Chris going in for it, doing a little bit of damage to Reap, but actually taking a little bit more himself.
Putting on some pressure in that mid lane. You can tell W5D2 actually needs that. He's got that crystalline flask, but he needs to go refill it back up in base. Reap will kind of win out this middle lane, has enough sustain as a resourceless champion. That's just one of his strengths there, able to out-sustain the early game for Kassadin, but Kassadin's really never played for that early game. They'll be going for the traditional tier build on Kassadin. I haven't actually seen that at all today in his games, so sometimes he just skips that, goes for Rod of Ages. The Ignite down onto Scuba Chris, man. Reap was looking for that, couldn't quite hit level 6. Would have gotten it off the next 2 minions from the next wave. So Scuba Chris pretty lucky to be alive. He's going to put Nubby back in lane.
And Reap is looking to max his Q, so he's going for the long-range poke harass that comes from his shurikens. Sometimes you can also get away with maxing Shadow Slash. That gives you a little bit more CC if you do that, but it also a little bit more reliable source of damage at some points because it's easier to land than your Q, than your shuriken if you use the Living Shadow, and on top of that, it also costs less energy than using the shurikens. But against a champion like Kassadin, you do want to stay away from him if possible, so he's looking to poke him out from a very long distance. He can stay back behind his own minion wave and poke him out without having to worry about any of that pressure. And here we go, now they're both level 6, so we're going to see a little bit more action here, and hopefully Nubby Pooh Bear can dodge some of these Living Shadow harasses from Reap, and that will allow him to sort of edge out a little bit of an advantage over Reap if he can manage those Rift Walks.
Yeah, but the way that lane matchup goes down, actually top lane, the Elastic Slingshot going in, it's a 2v1 Cybolic, not level 6 yet, Ignite actually on Flappy Bearfish. Sicko Scott's getting in there with the damage. The drain though on Scuba Chris, the one to pick up the kill in the bottom lane off of a nice counter gank Buffzerg. Not long for this world. I love this sort of tag team duo. 2 kills first time, 2 kills the second time as well. This bottom lane is just free gold right now for Denial.
And once again, I'm still wondering why Sicko Scott hasn't paid more attention to the bot lane, because Inox and Scuba Chris, twice they've done it now, they can really easily secure the kills down there. Slacko, he only has a lot of damage on a single target. He doesn't have a big AoE like Flappy Bearfish can proc his passive, his poison stacks on multiple people at the same time. He can use his cask for another AoE, and then Expunge is another AoE, so he can lane versus 2 pretty easily. He can put out damage, but Vayne can't, and that's really the biggest difference right there. Buffzerg can sort of CC one, but that's about it. And meanwhile, it looks like both Scuba Chris and Inox just going to take a dragon off of that engagement, so they're even farther ahead of this bot lane.
Yeah, the bottom lane, I mean, well, I guess you say bottom lane, but it's actually the solo lane, rather, for Team Summon, not really having that big a problem. Cybolic up in the top lane, hasn't really been feeling it, but it's the duo for TS that's kind of surprisingly in that 1v2, overextending just a little bit, not having the games they were looking for at all. And you can even see that Buffzerg Zyra went for an amplifying tome first, so he's gonna be looking for a little bit of extra AP instead of building, you know, the standard Sight Stone first, or maybe even go for Philosopher's Stone. Look for a lot of aggression. The damage down there, I mean, it's cool and everything, but you're just gonna keep dying over and over again no matter how much AP you have.
Yeah, that's very true. And one other thing I would like to note, a lot of teams, when they see, alright, we initiated the lane swap, but they're bringing it back to normal, sending their 2 top, a lot of teams like to basically switch back out to make sure that 2v1 stays how it is, but at this point, Denial is so far ahead that they don't really care too much. They said, alright, you can pull off this lane swap, we still got it. Flappy Bearfish, he has the Bilgewater Cutlass, so he's pretty far ahead of Vayne, who's right now only has a Vampiric Scepter, so he's gonna have a little bit more power there. And on top of that, we see Scuba Chris still going in for some of these ganks onto Vayne and Zyra, so he's doing a very good job of shutting Vayne down early. There goes the flash!
The flash, the fear, the damage, exhaust as well onto Slacko. Scuba Chris, please stop. 203, 202 in the bottom lane on that Jarvan. You can see Inox put back in lane with Cybolic, who's not going to be too happy to be there. Brutalizer on that Jarvan and Doran's blade. Inox is about to blow Cybolic up. You can even see the Dragon Strikes coming out. Not really making him too happy to be there.
Yeah, right there. He's gonna have to find.
Oh, the damage going in. The Ignite goes down as well. Forces the Lightning Rush. Ward in the bush. The dunks for the damage. One more Dragon Strike for the kill. Can you land the flash? And the kill picked up in Inox on a killing spree.
And there's still no kills on the board for Team Summon. They're doing really well right here. Sicko Scott making something happened in the top lane, looking to go for the elastic slingshot.
Yeah, going for it, getting in there, the pink ward down for Buffzerg. I'm kind of confused. The stealth was already way far away from there, but it doesn't even matter. The AoE from Reeve able to pick up a nice kill. So nice to see both teams kind of realizing, hey, we can prey on these side lanes. Going in for the damage on a Gleep Glarboop with a fear to deny a lot of that damage. Oh, the impaling to the wall. Slacko picking up the kill with the silver bolts. Really nice capitalization, and it's after 8 minutes, so no bonus armor. It's Nubby Pooh Bear coming in for some additional damage. Clears out the minion wave too, which is probably more important. Pushes Team Summon off the turret.
And at this point, the only damage that Nubby Pooh Bear is going to do is just going to try to force these guys not to tower dive Nubby, because right here we see a 4v2. If they were all at full health, they would have no problem diving this, but I think they know Scuba Chris is there. They don't really want to initiate on this, especially when Nubby Pooh Bear could just rift walk out of it. So they're just buying time for Flappy Bearfish to come back in, and we should see an initiation fairly soon if Team Summon doesn't get out. As Flappy Bearfish, he's going stealth. Here we go.
Scuba's going in there. The Q lands onto Reap, not the target they were really looking for. Nubby Pooh Bear trying to arcane, or not arcane shift, but rips walk away from the wall. A lot of damage, a lot of posturing, but the turret goes down. First turret of the game for the Team Summon.
And I think that Denial probably wants to start pushing back this top lane in their favor a little bit, since they know, alright, they're all low, and Scuba Chris wants blood. And he will get that with a Dragon's Rage, as well as a resonating strike follow-up.
Gotta commentate that, and then I was like, well, he just kicked him in the face and he died. Gleep Glarboop ulting over the wall. Denial absolutely on a rampage. Like, you guys took our turret. They took my turret. I took their lives, and that was exactly what Denial did. Maybe Pooh Bear actually gonna push the lane in on there. Look for a turret take of their own. We'll tie things up at 1-1 with no response from Team Summon.
Yeah, and that's going to be a guaranteed tower up there. And meanwhile, the bot lane, sort of the solo lane matchup in this case, Inox is doing very well against Cybolic. He's able to keep his lead, even though it's Jarvan versus Kennen. Kennen should normally have the power over Jarvan, but at this point, we see Inox, he has a Brutalizer, a pickaxe, Doran's Blade, and a Crystalline Flask. He has no problem laning against Cybolic at this point, and the only thing that Cybolic can really do right now is just farm from a distance. Granted, he is Kennen, so that's a little bit easier for him, but we see Inox is just constantly pushing, and he's going to have the tower now as well. So actually 2 towers to 1 in favor of Denial Esports at this point. They're looking pretty strong so far.
And Denial, very strong, 10-2. I mean, that's a really big number to throw out there, but only about a 5,000 gold difference, so nothing too crazy right now. Cybolic, it jumped on, but no knock up there, no capitalization from Scuba Chris. But you can even see Buffzerg, he can't walk down to his bottom lane unless Scuba Chris and Inox let him. It's going to be somewhat fortunate in that regard, but taking the long way around, does not want to risk that. They don't know where Jarvan and Lee Sin are right now.
And I think at this point, Denial want to make a play for the mid lane tower. That's really the only outer tower that's still up, so they could easily make a play for that. And Dragon, let's check actually how soon that will be back up. It went down 738, so it will be back up fairly soon. Reap getting taken down very low. There goes the expunge. He's going to pick up the kill.
Oh my goodness, yeah, the kill going down there, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, Buffzerg out of there as well. Psycho ulting coming in, gets the impale against the wall. Gleep Glarboop taking the damage. Cybolic coming in. Will be a kill countered out there, so 1 for 1 right now, but it's support for a mid laner. I think that's a trade Denial are pretty happy with.
And on top of that, Denial, Inox is still pushing down in the bottom lane. He's going to take another tower off of this, or at least put out a lot of damage on it. But unfortunately, we do have a pause. It looks like Nubby Pooh Bear actually had a bug splat at that moment. I don't think it actually made much of a difference in the fight that just occurred, but at the same time, that's something you do want to rectify fairly quickly.
Yeah, I mean, Nubby is in the very back of the team fight, but really not able to get down all that much damage. Like you said, having a little bit of a rough time. Going to be loading back into the game without a progress bar. It makes it very difficult to tell how quickly he's loading back in. But you know what? Hey, rest in peace, progress bars. No longer will we see those, or pings, or anything that we can use to distinguish where exactly you're playing from. But with servers around the world, I mean, you pretty much play on good ping no matter where you are. Rest in peace, NA East server. We can all hope and dream. But it's a nice thing to see that even though the kills are starting to stack up, Kassadin's still only 1-0-2, and the Sport Fiddlesticks 1-2-2. Having a little bit of a rough time. You can see actually going for CDR boots, the Ionian Boots of Lucidity, built up on Gleep Glarboop. So if you guys are looking to play supports Fiddlesticks like Gleep Glarboop does, just max out Terrify. And I've actually seen him put points in Terrify and Crowstorm over top of leveling his ultimate, because really that's just, sort of like the Fear. It's you throw down an AoE Fiddlesticks ult and you're just like, well, I don't really want to be in there, regardless of the fact that it's actually not doing any damage. So it's more of a posturing coming out there from Glebe Glarbu. But we all know, we've seen it before. And actually, he was requested by the support of Curse Academy to play his support Fiddlesticks in this game. So definitely able to fulfill that request. If you guys want to be in on the conversation like that, you can follow Glebe Glarbu on Twitter at Glebe Glarbu and ask him all sorts of support Fiddlesticks questions. But play is back underway. Sicko Scott's back in the game. He's going to unpause it, as well as W5D2 back from Lagland, pushing out the middle lane, and it looks like Denial turning on the Dragon just now respawn.
Oh yeah, like I said before, right before the pause, Dragon is going to be right back up fairly soon, so they're looking to make a play for it, and there's really nothing to contest it. They took down Reap and Buff Zerg down below health, forced him to back, so at this point there's two people out on the map where they don't know where they are, so that's possible, but a 2v4 is not really something that you want to, or 2v3 is not something you really want to risk too much. But taking a look at the kill difference, we see 3 kills on the side of Team Summon. Now that could be the beginnings of a comeback, but at the same time, 2 of those are on Buff Zerg, who on Zyra not going to really be able to make as much out of that gold that he gets from the kills than someone like Vayne. If we say Slacko had all of those kills, then he would probably be having a Blade of the Ruined King at this point, amplifying his power quite a bit, and they might be able to force a comeback off of that, but the gold distribution just not too good this game for Team Summon.
Yeah, Team Summon, they're having a little bit of a rough time stacking things up on the support. I mean, if you look at the gold count, you can see Zyra actually only about 1,000 gold behind everyone, even ahead in gold of Sicko Scott, so that guy is not having a good time in the jungle, not even with that Spirit of the Elder or Ancient Golem completed, so really needs to get that itemization up if he wants to be that initiate. That's inevitably Team Summon's going to need.
And it looks like Sicko Scott staying around the mid lane. He knows at this point that that is really going to be what Denial look towards in terms of where they're going to make action happen next. Because the bot lane tower's down, the top lane tower's down, Dragon just got taken. The only real objective that they can force right now is the mid lane. They could all go push top, but they'd have to push through 2 towers, and that's not really too ideal when they still have that mid tower up. So it looks like Denial, they are going to start grouping up mid here, and they do have quite a bit of team fighting power. Even as I say that, Inox is actually going for a Tiamat, so he's going to be staying up in the top lane pushing quite a bit, or staying in the bottom lane and pushing quite a bit. It doesn't really matter to him as long as he can get some of those minion waves down with Tiamat. Very, very good item for any split pusher that is a melee champion.
And not only is that the kind of the precursor to the build, but you can even see that same kind of Lee Sin style Cybolic trying to throw down the stuns, but it's not going to keep you alive for long. That Zani's Hourglass cannot find it. Just really starved for items right now. 100 CS, 0-2, not going to be what he needs there. Really wants to save things up. Flappy Beverage trying to clear out this wave, but he's going to get Deathmark and the initiate. Leave Largo over the wall, gets impaled immediately. The fear down, but the damage as well. A huge dive through the turret. Absolutely massive Team Summon with a 1-for-2.
Nox is going in.
From the back. Yeah, Nox from the behind. Going into the behind there. Not long for this world. Slacko gonna get taken out. Reed now one more auto attack away from death. And it's like, oh my goodness, a 1 team fight. Team Summon's so good. And then it's like, wait a second, what if we just 2v1'd you? But it's W5D2 with the cleanup. We'll take down 1. Turns that into a 2 for 4. Middle turret now gonna be taken out by Denial instead.
Just taking a look at how much damage Inox did in that fight, something that you don't really expect to see from Jarvan. They're going to try to put down a little bit more damage onto Cybolic, forcing him back, seeing if they can force him to back and not defend this tower. They're going in for the kill, however. And one last auto attack from W5D2 is going to secure that.
Yeah, going deep, going hard. W5D2 able to get the last hit. That's going to give him, let me check out this gold count, right? 2,100 gold on W5D2. He can just like straight up complete Seraphs or Rod of Ages, pretty much anything he wants right now, because that guy is starting to feel the stacks. 503 on Inox's Jarvan, 502 on W5D2's Kassadin. The carries carrying and pretty much not really running into a whole lot of roadblocks on their way to success. Almost the Zanya's there onto Cybolic, but the damage coming in. Flappy Bearfish, the fear goes down, as well as the Blade of the Ruined King. Can't quite choke him out just yet.
Yeah, they want to be careful because they are fighting in the enemy jungle, and all 5 members of Team Summon are now alive, so they'd never know when there might be a follow-up. And Sicko Scott unfortunately didn't have his ultimate up at that fight, so he couldn't turn it with that, but either way, it is a good reason for Flappy Bearfish and Gleep Larbu to get out of that fight. So at this point, the mid lane tower is down, the top lane and the bottom lane tower is down. I think Denial, they can really easily just split push this game to victory at this point. We see Inox once again in the top lane, Ravenous Hydra. He clears minion waves like a boss, and on top of that, he's getting 75 attack damage from the Hydra, as well as more attack damage from Brutalizer and Pickaxe. He can take towers really quickly, and as we saw before, if Cybolic tries to fight him, he can burst him down really quickly too.
That's alright what we're seeing right there. Deathmark going in, but it's just not going to be enough. Zed crawling back into his hole, unable to get the kill onto Flappy Bearfish. Turret in the top lane feeling some pain, and Nox going in onto that. Goes for the dive below the turret. Cybolic knows on is complete just yet. The dunk's too large and it charged Nox. Not really wanting to take that turret up. He's like, well, what do I really want to do right now? He's proxy farming when he gets ganked, just waiting for Nubby Pooh Bear going in for the kill.
And it looks like at this point, they might be able to catch Sicko Scott.
Yeah, going in there, the Q coming in, or the safeguard from Super Chris. Now it's 4v1. Sicko Scott bouncing away. No fear out. He's going to try to get the kill, but the follow-up too strong. He's going to be popped into his Bloodless Slate by a nice activation of that Ravenous Hydra. Nox goes godlike, picking up his 7th kill of the game.
7 kills on Jarvan. That is huge. They're just going to go for a Baron off of this. Before 20 minutes, that's pretty early, but at the same time, they have 20 kills. They're 10k gold, less than 20 minutes into the game ahead of Team Summon. So they can really do this, and Flappy is going to catch up Buff Zerg, and there goes the ultimate.
Gleep Larbu just going for the swag kills right now, picking up their first Baron of the game at 19 minutes. 21-5. Denial are absolutely smashing through this game. It's a little bit similar to what we saw in the last series, but Denial, they have a plan. They're executing the flash, the slow on to Slago. Gets impaled into a wall. The stun does follow. Nubby Pooh Bear going over to the red buff, looks for more spells to be cast. The tumble gives him another stack of that force pulse, throws the damage down, but with a follow-up from Stupid Chris. Deathmark is on to Nubby Pooh Bear, not long for this world. He's gonna get taken out there. No, he does not go down. Where's the Riftwalk? Not in time. Out of Stupid Chris to try to get away. He's actually gonna throw the Q sideways, jukes over to the double golems, wants to try to war jump back. He's just running and ragged all over the place. The Q flash actually this time. Can you catch him? The answer is no. Q now over the wall, and Nox going legendary deep inside the base, destroying the turret as well as my voice inhibitor to follow for Denial.
Scuba Chris is still just distracting them, and at this point, you know, even if he gets away, if he doesn't get away, the point is he distracted both Cybolic and Sicko Scott, and for the longest time, even Reap was chasing him out. So in that time, the rest of Denial easily took that inhibitor down in the top lane, and Sicko Scott's still going for this. He's going to try to tower dive it.
Hey, Nox he's not leaving this space. He's out of mana right now, so maybe, but I don't even think the game's gonna last that long. GG well played comes out. It's a 9-0-4 performance on Inox. Denial Esports takes out Team Summon 26-6.
Just a little bit too much tunnel vision there at the end of the fight. You know, they chased Scuba Chris out, they popped a lot of his spells, but at the same time, at what cost? The answer is to the cost of their top inhibitor, and at that point, I think they sort of realized, oh, hey guys, that wasn't a really good play. We just lost an inhibitor. So, you know, on top of the gold difference that was already in place, they just called GG right there. It was going to be really, really hard for them to come back into the game. So, well-deserved win over there for Team Denial.